So, some things that we actually see today and that have been around for centuries, um, like racism and inequality, corruption, crime, uh, the lack of help for those who are low income. Uh, we may think that these things can go on as business as usual, and we can include oppression, bullying, and job inequality too. And we may think that they can go on as business as usual, but there are things blocking that. Uh, and I'd like to explain why. So, more than ever, we can't rely on the fact that people today are accepting of these treatments and talking about oppression, because people are becoming less and less loving and have a lack of natural affection. And this explains what happens in the US culture and around the world when you have mass attacks by one person or several people. People are not loving enough to endure oppression. And this explains the fact that we're living in the last days where there's no natural affection and people are willing to harm their neighbor. So we can't go on bullying and oppressing out of consideration for those who are weaker in spirit in order to not invite violence. A greater factor is that we're nearing the end of this system of things, and I'm saying that again. Uh, and we understand this because certain things are not uh, fostering conditions that we're used to. We're talking about climate change. Climate change lets us know that we're on the last leg that the planet has to sustain life for us. So we may want to live in paradise, we may want to live in that mountain or on the coast or in the city, but climate change is making it more and more impossible to live in certain areas and even in a city when it comes to flooding. So we understand that with these conditions of a lack of natural affection and a lack of self-control, the fact that we have climate change, we can't continue as we normally do. We can't continue to bully, we can't continue to oppress, we can't continue to toot racism and prejudice, because we literally need to look around and see that there's no more room for these conditions. They can't endure and reign the way they did before. And we also need divine intervention to protect the planet from the effects of climate change and to protect the human race from extinction. So, if we're conscious of the fact that we need our Creator's approval to save our planet and to save man from extinction, then we won't go on as if we can reign over other people, other human beings, the way we may have had done so in the past, where maybe our forefathers did so in the past. So if you notice, when it comes to racism, blacks were kidnapped from their continent. So on their continent, the motherland, people were living amongst each other with their tradition and their lifestyles and their self-esteem. The measure of oppression was minimal, however, it still existed. So no one considered themselves less of men or lesser than what they are. So people were always reminded of a wrong that was done to them and how life could have been better on their own continent. So no one was really fully stripped of their rights of being human, only recognizing a wrong was done to them. And this is what people still understand today, is that a wrong is being done, not that they're lesser. So we can't rely on oppression as we did before. If we want to save the human race, going back to that, from the dangers of climate change, we need to remove ourselves from these oppressive attitudes, because these things can't reign forever. But the good news is that under God's kingdom, there won't be climate change. However, the scriptures tell us that the meek ones will inherit the land. A meek person is someone who's humble, and therefore he doesn't consider himself as superior to his neighbor. So at this time, we do need to understand that certain attitudes can't prevail over love for our neighbor. And if we have love, there's a lot that we will not do. And it starts young. I remember my cousin was shopping with us and her dad, her mom, and she walked out with a small vodka, a small shot glass, a souvenir. So, so they had to make her go back. They had to take her back so that she would put it back. So the inclination of man is bad since youth. However, some things are learned, and we have to unlearn these things. Love can protect us from all sorts of wrongs, and we have to change our habits.